900,000 employees were furloughed, and another 700,000 had to continue working without pay before the US federal government shut down. Those numbers sound distant, the business of Washington, of Congress, of political debates. But just a few days later, its aftershocks began to spread like an undercurrent. From congested airports on the East Coast to closed offices in California, and then reaching the heart of the American West, Las Vegas. Once dubbed where America goes to forget its worries, the city has now become the clearest showcase of the cracks in the American economy. Flights to Vegas were delayed, cancellations surged, and thousands of hotel employees, from housekeeping and service staff to stage technicians, began facing temporary unemployment. Vegas was once a symbol of resilience, a place that weathered the 2008 financial crisis, the pandemic, and even the global tourism downturn. But this time, the enemy isn't a virus or a housing bubble. It's the paralysis of the very system that has sustained this city, the federal government. In today's video, join us as we unpack how a political decision in Washington caused the economic heart of Las Vegas to stop beating. From silent airports to darkened casinos, we'll see how a government shutdown not only closes the government, but also shuts down the American dream. Las Vegas was once considered the golden gateway to the American dream, where every landing brought with it expectations, laughter, and suitcases brimming with hope. Harry Reid International Airport, LAS, was once a symbol of bustling activity, with 2024 setting a record of 58.4 million passengers, the highest number in the city's history. Runways that never sleep, skies always buzzing with the sound of engines. That's the sound of a once vibrant economy. However, if you look up at that same sky today, what will you see? No more crisscrossing, brightly lit flight paths on the map. No more crowds jostling at departure gates. All that's left is a completely empty void. In 2025, passenger volume at Harry Reid decreased significantly compared to the previous year. As of the end of August 2025, the airport will only serve approximately 37 million passengers, a decrease of 4.5% compared to the same period in 2024. In August alone, the number of passengers decreased by nearly 6%, equivalent to 4.56 million flights disappearing. That alone cost the city over $1 billion in direct revenue from the airport. If you include spending at hotels, casinos, restaurants, taxis, Uber, and tours, the actual impact could be 3 to 5 times higher. No longer bustling with international tourists, the airport waiting area is now eerily empty. Dusty benches, a silent check-in counter, and tickets lying still in the printer, uncollected. A female receptionist on the Strip recalls, "Back then, every morning shift I heard laughter, passengers calling to each other, the sound of suitcases being dragged from all over, China, Korea, Australia. Now, the loudest sound is the hum of the air conditioning in the empty lobby. What was once the sound of life is now just an echo in a soulless space. Vegas, once the city that welcomed the world with a smile, now stands silent, watching flights gradually disappear from the horizon. Why are international tourists leaving Las Vegas? It's simple, because for international tourists, the US is no longer an easy or safe destination. Visa procedures are becoming increasingly complex, security checks are strict, and costs are soaring, while Europe and Asia are opening up with more affordable prices. A young tourist from Singapore frankly said, "I prefer Europe. Easy to get around, safe, and I don't feel scrutinized." According to tourism industry data, tours to the US from Asia decreased by nearly 46% in just 2 years, and the number of international guests booking luxury hotels in Vegas dropped by over 50%. And, as the government crisis spread, the situation worsened. A shortage of air traffic controllers caused thousands of flights to be delayed. According to FlightAware, over 4,000 flights across the United States were delayed on the first Monday of the shutdown, with over 15% of those flights being to Las Vegas. The stations, which were already empty, now resemble morgues for the American dream, where all movement seems to have frozen. However, there's a paradox that only exists in Vegas. The emptier the airport, the more expensive the plane tickets. The shutdown is costing the US tourism industry about $1 billion a week and is causing a domino effect. Fewer flights, higher costs, slower operations, and people are paying more for an increasingly unstable service. Fewer flights, fewer passengers, but prices are still increasing. If Walmart is empty, will they raise prices? But the airline industry is different. They turn emptiness into opportunity. A strange kind of math that only CEOs smile at, while passengers scratch their heads in confusion. A trip to Vegas is no longer a source of excitement, but a luxury, like a glass of red wine at an upscale party during a time of scarcity. Vegas, a city born from risk and nurtured by faith, is now trapped in the stagnant cycle of political economy. When opportunities were put on hold by decisions in Washington, the city not only lost tourists, but also lost the very heartbeat that had defined it for nearly a century. On the long, winding runways, the beacons still blinked, but there weren't many flights landing anymore. The American dream, which once began with steps off the plane, now lies still in the desert, like a round-trip ticket that was never printed. When even flights to the promised land are delayed indefinitely, is there anywhere else in America that's still taking off? But the real damage isn't in the delayed flights. It's in the hearts of tourists who are starting to hesitate to turn their backs on Vegas. No one wants to set foot in a place that is in turmoil. No one chooses to travel to a city where every new piece of news evokes instability. And once a tourist's trust is shaken, no matter how brilliant the advertising campaigns, they won't be able to bring them back. According to Visit Las Vegas 2025, bookings decreased by 12% in just the first 2 weeks of the shutdown. Hotel occupancy rates on the Strip, which have consistently remained above 85%, are now only 66.7% as of early July 2025. A free fall for a city that thrives on weddings, conferences, and the never-ending nightlife. The casinos are still lit up, and the hotel rooms still smell of fresh bleach. Everything was prepared perfectly, but there were no tourists. Like a play that's been prepared and set up, but no audience shows up to watch. And yes, no one wants to go to Vegas anymore, especially when, in front of them, was a long wall of bills, longer than a roll of Costco toilet paper, with tiny, faint lines of hidden costs that could only be seen with a magnifying glass. Resort fee, cleaning fee, parking fee, service charge. All these pile up into sophisticated traps. On social media, the empty Vegas wave spread like wildfire. TikTok and YouTube videos show empty casinos, deserted hotels, and the sparsely populated Las Vegas Strip. The person who had been to Vegas quickly left. Those who haven't gone yet cancel their tickets, silently promising themselves, not now. Perhaps never again. A chain psychological effect formed, leading to a series of potential tourists disappearing from the map of American tourism. Local authorities and tourism businesses are panicking. They launched a series of campaigns such as the $35 million Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas and the citywide Fabulous 5-Day Sale. But all of this is just to address the immediate consequences rather than the root of the problem, like patching a leaky wooden boat with a needle and thread. Vegas pretends not to know what's making it empty. It's not a lack of media effects, but a lack of belief. People no longer feel safe planning a trip to a city in a country facing political paralysis. What's happening in Washington, D.C. is no longer just a matter for the political class. It's become a concern for every visitor. Before booking tickets, they have to ask themselves, will the airport be operating normally? Is there a risk of the flight being cancelled midway? When the government is in chaos, will I be safe there? When those questions arise in the minds of ticket buyers, all marketing campaigns become meaningless. Not to mention that when people feel financially unstable, Las Vegas is the first thing they cut back on. Because Vegas isn't a necessity, it's a dream, a reward, an emotional luxury that people only dare to indulge in when everything in their lives is stable. But now, with America no longer stable, who would dare bet on happiness anymore? Vegas once thrived on the feeling of escaping reality. Now reality itself is devouring it. Can a city that relies on tourists survive when tourists no longer believe in the stability of the United States? And if Vegas is losing confidence, is that the first sign for the entire economy? But the fatal blow didn't stop there. It was about to spread to the giant corporations that once thought themselves untouchable. If you want to know whether a city is prosperous or declining, look at the numbers in the balance sheets of large corporations. And in Las Vegas, those numbers are turning from black to red at a frightening speed. According to CNBC, 10/2025, MGM Resorts hotel revenue decreased by nearly 17%, while casino profits fell by an additional 12% in just 3 weeks after the federal government shutdown. Caesars Entertainment Corporation, a name synonymous with lavish parties and multi-billion-dollar conferences, has been forced to postpone its plans to hire over 1,200 seasonal employees for the year-end holiday season. As for Wynn Resorts, which is considered the last bastion of luxury, it has cut working hours for its lighting and VIP table service teams. These decisions are not just internal adjustments, they are an urgent signal for the entire US tourism industry. When the giants start saving every hour of labor, every light bulb, it means the system is shrinking and thousands of frontline workers will be swept up in that vortex. The shutdown choked off cash flow at its source. When the federal budget stops spending, when hundreds of thousands are furloughed without pay, personal spending declines and the domino effect begins to fall. Fewer customers, reduced revenue, companies cutting staff, and those who lost their jobs further reducing spending. It's a self-destructive loop, and Vegas, with an economy almost entirely dependent on consumption, is the first victim. On the Strip, the lights still blaze every night, but it's no longer the light of celebration, but rather the light to hide empty tables, idle rows of chairs, and dreams put on hold. Large corporations try to reassure shareholders with phrases like temporary restructuring and cost optimization, but everyone understands that this is just another way of saying we're bleeding. The decline of Vegas corporations is not just a story of profits. It's a story about a city built on consumer confidence, where people come to spend money, and everything only works when they believe they can earn it back tomorrow. When that belief is shaken by a political crisis thousands of miles away, all the neon lights become meaningless. Some local businesses have sought to turn things around with a more sustainable model, investing in domestic conference tourism, developing small-scale community events, or partnering with worker-supportive brands like AARP to train laid-off employees in new skills. But those efforts were like placing a few small bricks in the middle of a sandstorm. If giants like MGM or Caesars are having to hunker down to survive, what will happen to the waiters, drivers, and housekeepers, the true soul of this city? And as the neon lights still shine, just to prove that Vegas is still alive, is this city truly alive? Or just trying to prove that it's on the brink of collapse? It was once said, in the 21st century, light travels faster than truth. And in Las Vegas, that light comes from phone screens, not from neon signs. While the city is still struggling to find its rhythm, a 30-second TikTok video can do more than a 3-hour Senate speech. It not only spreads information, but also shapes the feelings of millions of people about a city on the brink. On social media, short clips capturing empty Vegas streets, silent slot machines, and deserted hotel lobbies quickly became a phenomenon. Hashtags like one Avoid Vegas, one Sin City Shutdown, and Vegas is Dying reached tens of millions of views within the first few weeks of the federal government shutdown. TikTok and Reddit 2025. Each clip is only a few dozen seconds long, but they spread more widely than any press release from the local government. The irony is that the media, once the savior of Vegas, has now become a double-edged sword. Just 2 years ago, in 2023, Las Vegas was hailed as a symbol of post-pandemic recovery, using social media to inspire the return of tourism. Time-lapse videos of the dazzling lights and flycam shots of the Strip are shared millions of times. But now, the very same tool has become a way against the city. The truth is that most of the people who filmed those clips had no malicious intent. They only recorded what they saw: empty streets, bright billboards that no one looked at. But with each share, Vegas loses another piece of public trust. Those images caused the Vegas, the city that never sleeps brand, to be replaced by the sarcastic phrase, Vegas, the city that no longer wakes up. The media, which was created to connect, now isolates. It takes away what Vegas thrives on: emotion. A city that lives on expectations and inspiration cannot survive if every video about it only evokes emptiness. As the world saw Vegas through a sad lens, it was the locals themselves who began to believe they were living in a city that had seen its best days. And that is the profound paradox of this era, where a video can kill a city, but also save it if told the right way. Is the media reflecting the truth, or is it inadvertently pushing a dying city closer to its demise? And if Vegas is only seen through the lens of fear, who will tell this story fairly, for the people who are still trying to keep the light alive in what was once America's brightest spot? People often say, when Vegas hurts, America suffers too. But this time, the cough lasted longer and was more dangerous than anyone imagined. The federal government shutdown not only affected thousands of employees in Washington, but also shook the entire economic ecosystem of the Western United States. At the epicenter of that shock, Las Vegas, often considered the barometer of consumer confidence, is sending the most somber signals. According to Moody's Analytics 2025, the loss of income for thousands of workers in Las Vegas alone caused total spending in the Western region to decrease by over $480 million. That amount isn't just unpaid bills or cut meals. It's a ripple effect that touches every gas station, every restaurant, every delivery from California, Arizona, or Colorado. The domino effect quickly appeared. Phoenix, Reno, and Los Angeles, cities directly connected to Vegas by tourism routes, all saw a significant drop in hotel revenue as international travelers cancelled their entire cross-state itineraries. Once the flight to Vegas was cancelled, nearby destinations also lost their accompanying customers. Vegas is not just a destination. It is the central link in the entire US tourism supply chain. The image of beer delivery trucks standing still in the Nevada desert became a silent symbol of economic stagnation. A city once praised for its massive consumption, from energy and food to entertainment, is now learning to slow down, not by choice, but by necessity. Experts from the US Travel Association 2025 warn that if the shutdown lasts another month, the US travel industry could lose over $4 billion, and more than 60,000 temporary jobs will be threatened, with the majority concentrated in Nevada, Arizona, and California. These numbers may change over time, but they have shown one undeniable thing. When Vegas slows down, the entire American consumer system is blocked. However, amidst that series of collapses, there were still small glimmers of hope. Some community organizations, such as Feeding America and Goodwill Southern Nevada, are partnering with restaurants and hotel chains to utilize surplus food, provide free meals, and offer new skills training to those who have lost their jobs. That's not a miracle, but a testament to human resilience, something no statistic can measure. Shutdown, after all, is not just a temporary political event. It is a test of endurance for the entire United States, economically, in terms of trust, and in terms of compassion. Are we witnessing a domino effect where American tourist cities are pulling each other down? Is this just the beginning of a new kind of recessionary cycle, where trust is the first thing to collapse? And then, when all the numbers turn red, Vegas will have to face its biggest question: does it have a future? No neon lights are bright enough to hide a city that is losing its soul. Las Vegas, once ablaze with the energy of the American dream, is now shrouded in artificial light, where giant LED screens still shine brightly, but beneath them are people swallowed by darkness. According to a report by the Las Vegas Chamber, over 8,000 federal and contract workers lost their jobs in the first 10 days after the government shutdown. They're not just desk workers, they are construction workers at the Dream Las Vegas project, sound engineers at the Sphere, and the entire backstage crew of Cirque du Soleil, who have transformed this city into the world's largest stage. Now, many shows are having to shorten their schedules. Billion-dollar projects are being put on hold, and every bright spot in Vegas is gradually dimming. But the tragedy of Vegas isn't just about the numbers. It lies in something more intangible: belief. When trust disappears, investment disappears with it. Developers delayed expansion plans. Entertainment companies froze new contracts, and even long-time residents began considering leaving. On the Strip, the lights still shine brightly every night, but that light now falls on the long rows of temporary tents erected under the bridge, where those who once served tables, drove limos, or worked in shows now have to take shelter. They once contributed to the city's glorious image, but are now forgotten by the city itself. That's the cruel paradox of Vegas, where people lose everything, not at the gaming tables, but in their own lives. The collapse of Vegas, when you look deeper, is the collapse of a model, an economy based on consumption, on the illusion of prosperity, on the belief that happiness can be bought. When the government shuts down, when the cash flow stops, all those illusions also disappear. Las Vegas has bounced back from the 2008 financial crisis, the pandemic, and seemingly insurmountable setbacks. But this time, the challenge isn't just about economics. It's a challenge of identity. Because if Vegas is no longer a place where people believe they can start over, is it still Vegas? A city that once represented the American dream is now waking up in a nightmare. Can it dream again? And if Vegas can't be revived, where else in America can? Because perhaps what's happening to Vegas today is a reflection of what will happen to the entire United States tomorrow. Las Vegas was once considered the place where America went to forget its worries. But now, it has become the place where America must confront its own anxieties, instability, weariness, and the fear that the dream has gone too far to return. When the neon lights are still on but people's faith is fading, we must ask ourselves, what is truly dying here? Just a city or the spirit of an entire nation? If Vegas, a symbol of freedom, boldness, and aspiration, can fall due to a temporary shutdown, what does that say about the resilience of modern America? And if even the city that never sleeps is starting to close its eyes, who will wake up the American dream? If you've witnessed similar changes where you live, please leave your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to explore the true stories behind the glory of America today. This video is created for the purpose of analyzing, reflecting on, and providing a multifaceted perspective on socio-economic phenomena in the United States, based on publicly available data and reputable sources at the time of its creation. All data, quotes, or narratives presented are for illustrative and educational purposes only, and are not intended to be accusatory, critical, or absolute affirmations of any organization, individual, or agency. Viewers are encouraged to verify information independently and view the content in a neutral, reference-based context. We do not represent any political views or commercial interests, and we fully respect all parties involved.